Hi guys, it's Amanda. I thought that I would shoot a little video blog today, basically talking about the RKC. I registered for the RKC a couple weeks ago, and then and some background on that. The RKC is basically like a pretty decent kettlebell certification. Right now, I have like a lower level one called the HKC Hardstyle Kettlebell Certified. And I went to my HKC in 2012, and I learned so much in one day in just 8 hours about how I move and about how other people move and about kettlebells and about how to cue people and things like that. I knew that as soon as I left there, I was like, I want to do the RKC someday. So I'm 148 days out from the RKC, and I am just getting really into a specific training program for it. The RKC is a 3-day certification. I think it's about 8-ish hours every day. 8-ish hours for 3 days straight. Although I'm sure it'll be like 10 hours or whatever, something like that. But it is a strength certification, a instructor certification, and I'll just talk a little bit about it. So like the first day you show up at the RKC, and you basically take like an entrance kind of strength test. And for women, I think you have to do about 3 chest to floor push-ups, not knee push-ups, like the legit ones. And that's for you to be able to like actually like, boom, I'm here and I can pass that little part, and then I can stay and take the rest of the certification. So I guess I wouldn't show up if you couldn't do a push-up. So I'm going to be working on my push-up skills. And then you do a whole bunch of work that first day. You learn about a whole bunch of different exercises that you'll be tested on later at the end of the cert. You work on technique, you work on form, you work on everything about it. So you are physically doing these exercises kind of all day long while you're learning. And then the second day, more of the same of that, except for like the middle of the second day, you take a snatch test. So that's where everybody pretty much just stops, and they have to do 100 snatch reps in 5 minutes with their test weight bell. So for me, based upon my weight, my test weight bell is a 16 kilogram bell. So that's about 35 pounds. So I have to do 100 snatches, 100 perfect snatches, not 100 crap snatches, in 5 minutes. And then you kind of go about the rest of the day and probably learn some more and work some more and blah, blah, blah. Then the third day you come back, do more of the same of that, a lot of physical work, a lot of technique things, and then you meet with a newbie off the street, like some random person that you've never met in your life before, and you take them through a bunch of like drills and get them to start using kettlebells safely and effectively. And then you also kind of put them through a little bit of a program, and you have an hour to do that. So throughout the certification, you have to prove that you're pretty strong, that you can hang for 3 days, like working, specifically on technique, on kettlebell drills and all that kind of stuff. And then you have to also pass that snatch test. And then you also have to prove that you are a damn good instructor. So that's kind of what I'm working towards these next couple months. And what I did is I went to meet with my own coach, Andrea Duquesne, who is a master RKC, who I found like maybe 4 years ago by chance. Like I Googled like kettlebell instructors and I wound up with her, and I am so happy that I did, because I've learned so much from her over the past couple years. And every time I continue to meet with her, I learn something new, and she just has this insane way of being able to get me to do things with like simple cues, and knowing how my body works, and looking at things like from like a foundational point of view, like, well, Amanda can't squat really well today, but maybe it's not because she doesn't know how to squat. It's more like because she needs to work on this, or the tightness of her hamstrings, or like just random stuff. She has the ability to like watch people move that is just insane, and to get them then to move better, safely, and like stronger within within an hour. Seriously, every time I go with her, I'm just like, my God. So that's kind of like the coach that I strive to be. And so I'm pumped to go through this RKC, because she is the master RKC that is going to be teaching the cert those 3 days. So I feel like I'm in a really good place, having spent like the last 4 years of my life learning kettlebells from her. And so what we did is she worked on a plan for me, like a 5-day rotation within a week, five workouts within every week, about, and what I should work on. And the cool thing about that is before she ever developed the plan, she kind of was like, okay, so you tell me your strengths and you tell me your weaknesses. And she knows what I'm good at and what I'm not good at. But I had to tell her. And so when I was talking about my strengths, I was like, I don't have an issue in the strengths department. Like, I'm a strong person. And if you give me a plan, I'm happy to show up and do the work. Like, I will do the work. I'll clock it in and I'll get it done. And by the next time in 4 or 5 weeks when I have to see you again, you will notice that I did the work. I'm confident and I can do those things. My weaknesses, though, and I told her this, was like conditioning and endurance. If you want me to lift 5 sets of 5 really heavy things, done. I'll do it in a heartbeat and I will love it. If you want me to lift moderately heavy things all day long, I'm gonna get a little bucky, you know? Those things I just don't do, because if I compared myself to a runner, I would say I'm a sprinter, not a marathoner. So I'm on that end of the spectrum. And I need a little bit more of the marathoner in me in my little kettlebell skills, or just like some endurance. I need to be able to handle some volume, especially over the course of 3 days. So that's kind of, she knew that. Like, she wanted, to hear me say that, but she already knew that in the back of her head when she was coming up with a plan for me. So that's cool. And then, so we talked about that. We emailed back and forth about the plan. I got the plan, and then I showed up with her on Saturday to do our one-on-one session. And we basically ran through the plan, and then she tested me on some things. And my push-ups are a little weak, so we're gonna hit those like every session, every training day that I have. We're gonna hit push-ups and just get those built up. I'm not worried about that. That'll be fine. If I do the work, which I will. But then she said, so how likely are you what's the likeliness of you going home and doing a snatch test this week? And I wasn't going to lie to her, because she also knew if I'd be lying to her. And I was like, it's not going to happen. I'm kind of scared of it. And up until that point, I've taken a couple snatch tests on my own and gotten anywhere between like the 88 rep mark or 92, 94, somewhere in there. But it was a struggle. It was not fun. I hated every second of it. And so I've probably been like secretly kind of like avoiding it. And so I didn't have to deal with it. And she kind of made me deal with it. She's like, well, we're just going to do a snatch test then today, just to see where you end up. And even though I was so pissed at her in that second that she said that, I knew she was a good coach for me, because she was going to make me do the ugly things that I wouldn't do myself. And so we did a snatch test. We warmed up. We did a whole bunch of other things. And then she just was like, well, here we go. You're going to do 10 reps on your left hand, 10 reps on your right hand every minute for these next 5 minutes. You can set the bell down on the floor if you get time before the next minute starts, and that'll be your rest. It's like, well, all right, well, hopefully I'll have time, because otherwise I'm just going to die here. And I did have time after the first couple sets. The first through third sets, I had a little, I probably had like 10-ish seconds between the next minute where I could just like put that stupid bell down and get a little bit of a break mentally and physically. And then by rep 60, I had mentally pretty much decided that this snatch test wasn't going to happen for me today. And Andrea actually looked at me, and so I was training in front of a mirror so I could see myself, and she kept like staring at me. She wasn't like encouraging me, saying, good job and blah 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 and blowing smoke. She was pretty much just looking at me, looking at her timer, counting out my reps. And she's like, all right, you have 3 seconds, you have to snatch again. In my head, and I'm like, I can't possibly snatch anymore. Either I'm going to land this bell in my head, and I really wasn't, but I get a little dramatic when I'm doing things that I don't want to do, or I'm just probably, my heart's going to come right out my throat and I'm going to die, right here, because at that 60 rep mark is where kind of like the anxiety kicks in and you can't recover anymore. You're just like, you got 40 more reps and they're just going to have to get done, and you just don't really have a decision about it. You just have to do it. So she made me do that. She looked at me, I banged out those next 40 reps, and they probably weren't the prettiest snatches in my life, although they were passable, and I got it done. And getting that done was like, I seriously slept better on Saturday night, because I was in that weird place of thinking about that frickin' snatch test and how I hadn't gotten it done yet, and she made me get it done. And she didn't do the work for me. Of course I did the work. But she was the best coach in that scenario, because she wasn't my I mean, she was nice, but she wasn't my friend in that scenario. She was the one making me do the work. And that's exactly what I needed right then, was just a little bit of that tough love to say, you need to move. You need to get it done. You can get it done. You're going to get it done. So that was pretty awesome. That was a little bit of like maybe like a little breath, a little breather right there, where I knew I could get that done, and I know that I can do it. I've already done it, and it's now repeatable, you know? So that little scary piece is kind of out of the way for a second. Not that I don't have to show up every week and do it again in my own gym without Andrea, but I know that I can do it. So that's really cool. And there's a couple things within my technique is pretty good across the board. I got swings down, snatches down. There's always room for improvement within all the exercises that I have to do. Front squats down, presses down, cleans down, get-ups down, you know, all of it, the whole shebang. But there was just a couple things that I'm going to work on really, really, really hard before I go see Andrea again. And specifically, it's kind of like the concept of rooting. So a rooting, like anything that I do with a kettlebell, I would prefer to train without shoes, because I like that connection to the floor. I like to be able to feel and initiate every movement that I have, almost like from my feet driving into the floor. So it's almost like energy going through your body from your heels all the way up to wherever that bell is, and wherever you're pressing or squatting or swinging or snatching. I like to feel it all the way down to my heels. And so I'm going to be super hyper focused about planting my feet, rooting, and those feet will not move, okay? So I want to be like super focused about that. And then everything that I do, I will initiate from the floor. So sometimes I have the tendency to, like, I'm pretty strong, so I could probably lift a bell with my arms. And I don't even have the habit of doing that anymore. That's kind of an example. But no, everything will be initiated from the ground, from that rooting position. So I'm pretty excited to get down and to work on that for the next 4 weeks. The second thing that's pretty noticeable, and I think I created out of habit, like over the past couple years, so is my midsection, or like my core, if that's what you want to call it, is like hypermobile. I move it a lot, and I'm gonna work on keeping it stiff as a board, straight. And so what I mean by that, like if I clean up a bell and I have them in the rack position at my chest, I move a little bit in my midsection. Or when I snatch, once I get tired, there's that like little like movement a little bit of movement in my spine, in my center, that kind of stuff. And I'm really, 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 really gonna work on locking that down. No movement, just boom, pop, lock it up, lock the form up, and stay tight, okay? So that's two things that I have specifically to work on. And there's a couple ways for me to get that done. Like the normals, you know, like planks and side planks and hanging knee raises and things like that, just to really build, first of all, the core stability. But then there's also a couple drills that she'll have me do mixing up throughout my plan, like bottoms up front squats and things like that, where you stand the kettlebell on its handle in your grip. So like the big part of the kettlebell is standing upside down, and you kind of have to like balance it and stay really focused and tight to be able to squat it or to press it or to clean it up or whatever. So I'm going to really, really work on those things and see if that doesn't make a difference over the next couple weeks before I go check in with her again, I think in 4 weeks. So that's a little bit about why I'm doing the RKC and what I'm doing for the RKC to prepare. And I'll keep you updated a little bit, because updating you is a way for me to stay accountable to myself and to remember what I was working on. And just to check in on those things that I said I was going to do, and to say that I have done them and I've done the work. And then the other, like, I'm really excited about this, because when I am done with the RKC and when I actually say, hey, I passed this, I will be able to be a better coach. I think I'll have a lot more, many more tools in my tool belt as to see how people move and how different people move. You know, everybody's got like different limb lengths, different whatever, different limitations. Everybody's body works a little bit differently. And I'll have just that many more tools in my tool belt to help people get through drills, or to learn how to do them a little bit better, or how to do them a little bit differently that maybe works for them a little bit better. And I'm really confident that this certification is like the thing that I need to do to kind of level up my coaching skills. So I'm excited to see where that takes me, because that's obviously, this is the reason why I'm doing it. Of course, I love to train myself with kettlebells for sure, and I probably will always love that. But this is a straight up instructor certification, so I'm excited to be able to learn how to teach other people better. If that how to make other people better is kind of what I'm after here. So I'm excited to see how that develops as I get going, and how it develops throughout the certification itself and then afterwards. So that's really all I have for today. Thanks for listening to me ramble on about kettlebells and the RKC and all that kind of stuff. And stay tuned. Probably a bunch more cool things in the future. Okay, bye-bye.